Western gaming is complete shit. Except for a couple of indie titles, it is absolutely worthless at this point. Most people who have an IQ above a toaster oven obviously know that this is true. But Quasar, why do you have to be so mean? I can defeat an oven. I can even defeat a toaster in a battle of wits. But a toaster oven is too high of a bar for a contender. Why do you have to be so mean? Well, it happens. What can I say? It happens. Sometimes you need a little bit more intelligence than a toaster oven. And if that bar is too high, well, good luck playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, I guess.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, this has been one of the best years in gaming by far, at least in recent memory. Don't let anybody tell you that this has been a horrible year for gaming.
True and real, but on this channel for not the fact that we actually have had a sublimely high amount of amazing games, especially a lot of indie titles and a non-AAA titles. And on this channel, we know that this year of gaming has been the peak because of how much irreversible damage has been dealt to the AAA slop fiasco dog water industry, okay? Ubisoft, literally dead. BioWare, completely forgotten. But Bethesda, not a single fan remains. Blizzard Entertainment, the biggest blemish on Microsoft's shiny behind in decades. Oh yes, all of these things have pretty much happened and concluded in one foul swoop of a year, okay? The damage, the beautiful damage, Starfield and everything else. Oh, it has been an absolutely wonderful, wonderful year for us who want to see these people lose everything. Oh, it's been wonderful.
Because quite frankly, that's not true. There's been a lot of video games that have been exceptional this year, and we're going to speak about one of them in this video today, and that is none other than Expedition 33. Now, the reason why I am talking about Expedition 33 is because there is an interview that has just recently come out with the main studio head over at that particular video game, and it is an interesting conversation that I want to go over, which is basically his response to what is going to happen to the studio now that you guys have found so much success. Now, as you guys may or may not be aware, Expedition 33...
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We're going to see if the studio behind Clair Obscur Expeditions La Traître. That's French or Spanish, or I don't know, pick one. We're gonna see what happens. Are they gonna be an Obsidian Entertainment with lightning in a bottle? Hey, we made Fallout New Vegas with 3 brooms, duct tape, and a stick? Or, you know, is it gonna be modern day Obsidian? Hey, here's Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. We're gonna see which one is it.
3 was made by some former Ubisoft developers that essentially got bored over at Ubisoft by being completely unchallenged, making the same slop that they love to make every single year, and they decided to make their own studio and chase their passion and make a certain video game called Expedition 33. And in this tweet from Pirate Nation, it says, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 director doesn't think sales and awards...
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you need to remember, Expedition 33 is kind of a hot, contentious subject because people don't talk about the negatives of Expedition 33, but undeniably, the greatest negative and just horrible thing that the game does is it portrays French in a likable way, which is just wrong.
Success should change the studio. What we want to do is exactly what we wanted to do when we started. We don't want to grow too much as a company, and I thought this is a great topic of conversation that we can have today in this video. Expedition 33 was a fantastic video game that exploded all throughout the internet when it released, and I remember watching the trailer for the first time when it was first revealed and saying to myself, and on stream by the way, that this is something really special. And today we get to talk about how this game ended up actually being one of the most special video games to release in recent memory, and how whether or not this success is going to go to the heads of the studio behind Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Well, who honestly knows, right?
So hit that like button, subscribe button, all that beautiful YouTube algorithm nonsense. Let's get into the video talking about...
Like the video right now. Takes less than a second. And thank you for everyone who does. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Clear Obscure Expedition 33. So this particular video game, when the trailer first released, I remember not many people were talking about it.
If this was, by the way, a modern game title, that would have been his husband who vanished. And before he would be saying, Gustav, fight the patriarchy. God, bitch. But it wasn't, thankfully.
Particular video game, when the trailer first released, I remember not many people were talking about it. Initially, I don't want to say it went under the radar.
I did talk about it. I did. I said that the gameplay, I mean, it's third-based combat, it is what it is, but a lot of other things seemed a little bit bad. Like the running animation was my favorite, where the arms were like this when you ran, but the legs were like... No, wait, it was the other way around. The arms were like this, but the legs were... Fucking Sonic the Hedgehog.
Because I don't think that's true, but ultimately a lot of people were talking about it just kind of in passing. But I remember looking at this trailer and telling myself, there is something special here. I really can't put my finger on it.
I said it looks mediocre at best. Unless the story's amazing, which it was.
Can't quite explain myself at the current moment in time, but I just know by looking at what it was in the trailer and looking at the combat and looking at the graphics and looking at the world and the overall story and the idea behind the paintress counting down from 33 all the way down to 0, although she obviously counted down from a much higher number, but you get what I'm saying. Counting down from 33 to 0 and everybody losing their life every single year she counts down for that particular year number. I mean, the concept was very interesting to me. It kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I just couldn't wait to dive into the game. Fast forward a couple of trailers later and an eventual release for the video game, I could not put this game down. When I tell you, I was doing multiple Grivcasts over on my gaming channel, Hypnotic Gaming Live, where I was streaming this game 2 to 3 times a day until I eventually beat it. And ultimately, when I beat it, I was blown away. I really was. The story is fantastic. The world building is fantastic. The overall gameplay is fantastic. And it really
let's not overhype the world building, okay? The world building, I mean, it exists, yeah, but it does enough of a good job, but the world building of the world that they're in isn't the greatest per se.
Truly proved the Western RPG industry wrong. And not even just
Again, not to say that any of that is bad, because my complaints about what I saw in the trailer were not necessary, because the game went in a direction where those complaints didn't mean shit, because other things happened because of the twists that this game has.
Western RPG industry, because there are some Japanese studios like Square Enix, for example, that truly believe that turn-based was dead. Nobody wanted a turn-based video game. Everybody wants action combat, and they truly believe that. And then Expedition 33 came out and
by the way, that is so crazy. They see some kind of Call of Duty 6 slop succeed or Fortnite succeed, and they're like, oh my god, no one cares about any type of other game again. Wow. Yeah, we need to make another Fortnite, or nothing's gonna sell. Yeah, how do they make those decisions, honestly? It seems so stupid, doesn't it?
Completely knocked that bullshit right out the water, and I love them for it. I really do, because we were all telling them that that is not true, and there was no way to get a, I guess, culmination of a number behind that. There was no way to really show that until Expedition 33 released, and when it did gangbusters numbers. Now, one of the best things that I've ever heard somebody say about Expedition 33 is that this particular video game has turn-based combat, and I don't like turn-based combat. Whenever I hear someone say that and they're loving this game, it puts a smile on my face, because truly people have a certain perception around turn-based combat, and it's fine. Listen, if you don't like turn-based, that's okay. Just like some people don't like action, that's okay too. I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I'm saying is there is a lot of people out there that absolutely love turn-based combat, and we have been ignored by major studios because they viewed it as too much of a risk. Now, the truth is, Clear Obscure Expedition 33 had more than just supposed turn-based combat. It had action-oriented elements within the turn-based combat, combat, they made it interesting for people that don't normally play those kind of games. The fact that you had the parry system, the dodge system, the jump system, everything that came and made it intuitive to people who love action games. And then they had the turn-based element involved in it, where you have strategy. You have to think about what you were going to do next. All of this combined itself into a fantastic overall combat system that everybody enjoyed, regardless of their playing background and whatever previous video games that they may or may not have played. Now, going back to Pirate Nation's tweet, because this is ultimately what the conversation is going to be about today, Clear Obscure Expedition 33 director doesn't think sales and award success should change the studio. Now, this is coming from an interview with this particular director.
I mean, that is true and smart, by the way, because think about it in a logical sense, right? So you did this thing, you made these decisions that led you to unimaginable success that you actually never thought is going to even be possible. Because let's face it, no one thought that something like this can happen just randomly. And then it does. And really, after that, you're going to be like, okay. Now we're going to change everything about how we do things because, reasons, I guess. Yeah, that does not seem too smart now, does it?
And I have a transcript of that interview from Games Radar that we're going to go over. So Games Radar's headline says the following: Clear Obscure Expedition 33 director doesn't think sales and award success should change the studio. What we want to do is exactly what we wanted to do when we started. We don't want to grow too much as a company. Now, the overall concept about this, I want to believe him. I really do. And trust me, right now, they absolutely have the benefit of the doubt.
In the game, when she finds him, she says, "No, think about my feet." And he's like, "A reason to live."
But most companies, you have to hold at an arm's length, because even if they do good before, doesn't mean they're going to do good again. I've always said that I prefer when teams remain as small as possible and as tight-knit as possible, because I feel like that's when the best work is done. When you have teams that are just way too big, where you can't even communicate with your coworkers because you're part of a team of like 500 to 1,000. I mean, look at Ubisoft. Ubisoft had almost 3,000 people working on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Their credits...
Diablo 4 had 10,000 people officially credited for Diablo 4.
Sequence was 2 hours long in order to get through the entire credits of everybody that worked on Assassin's Creed Shadows, whereas Expedition 33 has a little over 30.
You know why it takes two hours to do that? Because that game is about the developers, not about the game or gamers. That's the difference.
Employees, so you can clearly get down to a more personal working level and understand what your fellow, employee might be thinking, or see, I guess brainstorm a lot easier. I feel like there's a lot more that can be done with a smaller team. So naturally,
okay, this is not exactly true. There's a reason big companies like Ubisoft have departments, department heads, and blah blah blah. So they can brainstorm, okay? Yeah, sure, their department may actually be 100 people, but it's still gonna have, like, I don't know, a couple of managers, and, they're gonna do different things. They can brainstorm, okay? They can brainstorm. Large companies have made successful games. It's just the truth. The fact that you have a 30-people company, that doesn't mean that 30 people are better than 1,000 people. What makes the difference is talent. That's simple. This is again why I say Bethesda is dead, because it's talentless. In fact, Bethesda is so talentless, they have a talent at being talentless. Because the way that Bethesda honestly fails nowadays is remarkable, and even people who would intentionally try to fail will probably not fail like Bethesda does. So again, it's all about just talent. These 30 people who made Clear Obscure obviously had talent. Be it composers for songs, be it whoever. They obviously had a lot more talent, except the, walking animations and running animations. They kind of missed the mark on that still. But they had talent. Ubisoft doesn't have talent.
Fear starts to kick in, right? Naturally, you start asking the question, okay, well, if there's a little over 30 employees, with the success of Expedition 33 selling a little bit over 5 million copies as of October of this year, Are they going to grow?
Nice.
Are they going to expand? Are they going to try to hire more people? Are they going to go to a team of 100? Are they going to go to a team of 200? Are they going to eventually become a AAA studio because they made so much money and were so successful off of Expedition 33? Well, apparently I am very happy to say that that doesn't seem to be the case. So let's go over this entire article and see exactly what's happening here. So the first couple of paragraphs says, I feel like dramatic changes don't necessarily mean that we have to change dramatically as human beings. Creative director Broach told Games Radar after the game took home almost every trophy that it was nominated for at the Golden Joystick Awards of 2025. What we want to do is exactly what we wanted to do when we started the game.
Hello, the Golden Joystick Award. Though that's hilarious. No one even knows or remembers what this is.
It's just to make games that are really honest and true, and write stories that move people and really connect people emotionally. And that's what we are going to keep doing moving forward. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, if you haven't played Expedition 33, there is going to be no spoilers in this video, so don't worry about that. But here's what I will tell you. That opening sequence, when I first experienced it, I messaged everybody that I knew that either planned to play Expedition 33 or was on the fence of playing Expedition 33. I messaged everybody and I said, I'm telling you right now, if you play this game and you go through the opener, you are going to be hooked all the way to the end. And lo and behold, everybody that I ever spoke to that played through the opener, for the most part, has gotten hooked all the way to the end. They could not put the controller down. It is that kind of a game. It is that kind of a story, and it is that damn good. And it says that Sandfall Interactive has a little over 30 full-time employees and used dozens more outsourced workers to finish Clair Obscur, so Broach also doesn't see the point in expanding unnecessarily. We don't want to grow too much as a company, he said.
I mean, they will expand because outsourcing is more expensive on a theoretical level, like 99% of the time, than actually just having your own employees do stuff. Also, the oversight over them is a little bit better. So they will definitely expand. I don't see a world where they do not expand, because if I don't know about the creation of Clair Obscur, I have actually not heard anything about that. But I will bet that there were parts where they're like, okay, we need more people here because we cannot make this work properly, and it's slowing down everything else. So they will expand. Now, granted, I also believe, one talented person on average is better than 100 non-talented people in, these kinds of settings. But, so, I hope they don't expand a lot, but I hope they find people who are good enough and expand at least by a couple of people.
Work well as we are now, as a small team, and we want to stay like that because we are very happy, and why change? And I agree. See, the problem is that eventually greed starts to set in. And if the certain person who is at the helm of the studio ends up becoming a greedy person, well, I mean, at that point, anything's possible. I really do hope, ultimately, that Sandfall Interactive does stay a very small team. I don't want them to grow selfishly, because I do like the fact that they are putting out games that they're passionate about. They are working on stories that they obviously know how to write. I mean, they have some of the best writing that I've seen in video games recently. Even from an indie standpoint, a AAA standpoint, it doesn't matter. They hit it out the park. I can't keep speaking good about this game. Like, it's impossible to speak any more good than I already have. This game, if you haven't played it, you need to pick it up and play it immediately. It is that kind of a video game. And don't let the turn-based combat shy you away, because I guarantee you, most people, even if they don't like turn-based combat, are going to end up liking the combat system in this game to some extent. And then it says, of course, that doesn't mean Sandfall won't incorporate lessons learned from Expedition 33's development. Broach explained that there are mistakes we made during production the team could learn from the second time around. But the most striking thing for us, and the real reward in our hearts, is the emotional response to the characters, to the story, and how much people embrace the characters, and they help them get through tough moments in their life, Broach added. And I think that's why art exists in general, to create an emotional response and be something that moves people, and that's what we want to keep on doing. So I'll say it to you guys like this. It sounds like he's saying all the right thing. He is saying literally everything that a normal gamer is going to want to hear, right? Especially fans of Expedition 33. I think at this point, you really don't have too much to worry about. However, keep these companies at arm's length, because at any point they absolutely can change. They're only as good as their last video game. Now, in terms of their last video game, it is doing gangbusters numbers on Steam and gangbusters numbers everywhere. As I mentioned earlier in the video, it did a little over 5 million copies sold as of October of this year, with a concurrent player count on Steam of 145,063.
Oh, that is not bad. That is not bad at all. Okay. Kind of good. Kind of good. What is this exactly? Like 12% ish or something like that? 12.5% retention? That's good after such a long time, though.
This has a 24-hour peak of 17,807, and there is 8,801 people playing this game right now as I talk to you in this video. The estimated Steam sales are pretty damn high, anywhere between 3.5 million all the way to 4.5 million. Out of that 5 million sales, the majority of it seems to have come from PC. There are still people watching this video game over on Twitch extensively. There is a 24-hour peak of 10,147 people watching Expedition 33 with
Oh, that's pretty good.
3,293 people watching it right now. So this game has extremely long legs, and it's extremely popular for a reason, and it is heavily inspired by JRPGs. It is a love letter to that genre of RPGs, and this is where I want to finalize this conversation. Expedition 33 proved the entire Western RPG gaming industry wrong. Completely wrong. It even proved some Eastern RPG companies like Square Enix, for example, completely wrong. Square Enix moved away from turn-based combat to action combat in their mainline Final Fantasy series because they flat out thought that turn-based combat was just not liked anymore. They thought that turn-based combat would not be able to sell compared to action combat, so they ended up chasing that level of combat instead of what they were known for. And to be quite honest with you, while some people have obviously garnered a love for that kind of combat in Final Fantasy, I've always been against it. I've always spoken against it, and I've always said that I would love to see a modern graphical, modern system Final Fantasy video game with turn-based combat. I just would love to see it. I really would. Now, I don't know if
the reality is every single genre of games that exists has an audience that is just sitting there and waiting. They just need the right game. Again, look at Telltale Games. This patch came out and it sold amazingly. Admittedly, again, it's only because of the Gooners. It literally sold like dog shit when it released, and only when it started trending on Twitter on episode 3 and 4, where the romance options were a thing and people started talking about it and it went viral, only then it actually got Steam. But again, as you can see, you deliver a product, the type of game that people want, and they will buy it the moment that they find it. It's that ridiculously easy. And also, this patch proves that no influencer matters. Like, look at this patch's cast. It was, except Alana Pierce, literally stacked with people of renown. You had Moist Critical, how many millions of subs does he has? Jacksepticeye, and a bunch of other losers. I have no idea who they are. And it didn't sell shit. It literally sold the grand equivalent of 5 fucking copies when it released. And only when the Gooners came, then it started selling like hotcakes. Again, if you just create something good enough for a certain type of people, there's going to be enough people. They're going to come. They're going to find it somehow. It's going to happen. You just need to make a good enough game. Again, everyone, it's exactly as he says, working in a coca field. Everyone thought that turn-based is dead. Well, here you go. Game of the year. Turn-based completely crushes it, and everyone except Shroud agrees that it deserves to win. In any case, that was Hypnotic, 10 out of 10. Bye!